It is officially fall, even though it doesn't feel like it right now because as I'm recording, it is literally 100 degrees outside. But we are in our winter arc, and if I'm being super honest right now, I had no idea what a winter arc was until I saw it trending all over social media. And then I realized that I think I'm just getting kind of old. Nonetheless, I still think this winter arc is a really good idea because we are in a season where it's going to be dark outside. The days are going to feel longer. This is probably a really good time to focus on your personal development, really get serious on your fitness goals or career goals, understanding your mental health, because this is probably one of the most crucial times to be focusing on that because statistics show that you have a higher chance of being depressed during this time because of the longer, darker days. This is probably the most crucial time because winter and fall are known to have the highest rates of depression. Now, a lot of the times it's seasonal depression just because it gets dark out at like 4 or 5 p.m. once we hit daylight savings time. But also it's just the ability to not get any sunshine because for a lot of you, if you work a 9 to 5, by the time you come home, there's no more sunlight out. This was especially a big struggle for me because when I was working my 9 to 5, my day would start as early as 5 in the morning. I wouldn't even see the sun because I'm indoor in a gym, and then I would go straight to work. So I'd probably get like 3 minutes of sunshine. And then the rest of it is I'm just cooped up in a building. And then to top that off, because it would get dark at like 4:30, by the time I was off work and ready to go home, it was once again dark. Okay, but in those dark times, I've gained about 6 years worth of experience on how to get through it all. And it's exactly what I want to share with you. And also the non-negotiables that I'm setting for myself in this winter arc. And I also want to be able to help you figure out what your non-negotiables should be or could be. So hopefully this video helps. And if it does, as always, please like and subscribe if you already haven't. And let's just dive in. Okay, so the first non-negotiable. Your first non-negotiable should be writing out what your non-negotiables are. I know that sounds so counterintuitive, but in order to figure out what your non-negotiables are, so that way you can keep a track of this even after, or if you find yourself losing motivation or you're losing vision of what you need to be doing, this is a great time to take out that list and just do what you need to do. So of course, I'm going to share with you all of my non-negotiables, but here's how we can help you to write out your non-negotiables. So I think a really good question to ask yourself is, what type of season are you in right now? Are you in a healing phase? Are you in a grieving phase? Are you in a more spiritual phase? For example, let's say you just went through a breakup, so you are trying to heal. A non-negotiable that you could set for yourself for this winter is no dating for 3 months. That means deleting all of your dating apps. It means just focusing on yourself for the next 3 months, because the idea is that you don't want any distractions, you don't want interference, you don't want that you up text at 2 in the morning. Let's say your non-negotiable is spiritual. So this could look like you want to reserve 1 hour in your morning or in your evening to just do something that's going to help you connect better on a spiritual level. So this could also look like you just waking up an hour early so you could read your Bible. It could just be straight up praying for 15 minutes and meditation. You kind of get the idea of finding first what season you're in, so then you can come up with that list of non-negotiables, because depending on the season you're in, that's going to determine how you present your other non-negotiables. Okay, so my second non-negotiable that I'm going to set for myself is I want to be in bed by 9 p.m. I personally think this is already so easy to do because by the time it is already dark out at like 5, and in my head, if you go to bed sooner, you can wake up sooner. And the reason I do this is because I like to go to the gym at 5 in the morning because it's less busy. I don't have to deal with anybody. Because I record my workouts, it's a lot easier for me to set up my tripod and to record. And honestly, the gym is just so empty, so you could get your workout done in under an hour. You don't have to wait. You still have plenty of time to shower, go home, eat a proper breakfast, and then go to work. I know with it getting darker sooner, it's gonna kind of suck for a bit, but you may as well just take advantage of the fact that it does get dark sooner, so then it kind of preps you to go to bed earlier. My third non-negotiable is sticking with really easy and simple recipes. For me, this includes making slow cooker recipes. I love the slow cooker during the winter because I'm already kind of in a soupy mood. I don't like to use the heating in my apartment because then that jacks up the bill. So in order to prevent that, if I'm just eating a lot of warm foods, then I don't really feel the need to turn on the heating in my apartment. And honestly, when I was working a 9 to 5, there was nothing better than being able to come home, to a freshly made soup that you could just eat. Now, if you have trust issues with keeping an electrical appliance on while you go to work, I wouldn't recommend it if you are somebody who lives like more than an hour away, just for that peace of mind. But if you are somebody who's close by to your house where you can just check up on it during lunch, then you could do it that way. Or if you have someone at home that could watch over it, trust me, there is nothing better than coming home to an already made warm meal that you can just eat right out of the pot, and you could probably just go to bed right after if you wanted to. My fourth non-negotiable for this winter arc is I'm going to make sure I get at least 30 minutes of sunlight. When it comes to vitamin D, it's reported as one of the most highest deficiencies during winter just because of the lack of sunlight. This could be as simple as just taking your lunches at work to just go outside. This could be using your lunch break to go on a walk, or you could even walk in the morning before you go to work, or you could just literally stand outside in the sun. If you're gonna scroll on your phone, you may as well just do it in the sun. What I used to do before my old job that I used to work at got a bench, I would just lay out like a blanket on just a patch of grass, and I would just eat my lunch out there. And if I had extra time, I would just walk around the building, but I just made it a habit to get some sunshine. And if I'm being super honest, I think there's no better feeling than when it's really cold outside, like in the 40s or 50 degrees. I'm in California, so that's what our temperature ranges are. But there's nothing better when it's in that temperature and you're able to just sit under the sun, because then it just feels really good. It feels warm and it feels like nature is giving you a warm hug. My fifth non-negotiable for this winter arc is I want to make sure I'm praying almost every night. I've never been a religious person, but I do find that when I don't pray for a long time, my anxiety kind of goes up. I start questioning about the what ifs that could happen, and I start dwelling on the wrong things. I start to feel like I'm losing faith in the things that can go right, and I focus on the things that could go wrong. But at least when I'm praying, I feel like I'm recentering myself back to the present, because then it forces me to think about all the things that are happening right now. It forces me to feel grateful for everything that I have, even though I'm not necessarily where I want to be yet. My next non-negotiable, I think we're at number 6. I'm taking myself on one solo date every week. It's so easy to stay cooped up in your home, especially because it gets dark so early. And if you're somebody who works all day or you go to school all day, it'll feel kind of difficult to have a social life. Now, if during the week is just not possible for you, what I plan on doing is I'll use the weekend. I'll take advantage of the fact that I'm already waking up early, so then I have the advantage to drive without traffic, or I can go to a coffee shop before the rush comes in and I can get a good spot by the window. And also the weekends is when there's still things happening like the farmer's market, and I think that's just probably one of the best things you could do as a solo date, is to get some fresh vegetables and use those fresh vegetables to make your meals for the week. My next non-negotiable is to read at least one book every week. I'm somebody who loves to read, but then I do get distracted with so many other things. But I personally really love self-development books. I love learning new skills, new coping mechanisms to help me through whatever mental health issue that I'm going through. And just keeping new perspectives keeps my mind stimulated. And when you're constantly always learning something, you're able to stay busy and you're staying focused on what you need to do. Now, if you're not somebody who's into personal development books, this could still apply to fiction and nonfiction books. But the idea is that you're setting aside a little bit of time for yourself every day, where you're not looking at your phone, where you're not focused on what other people are doing. You're able to just sit in silence with the book by yourself and enjoy that time. If you are into self-development books, I do have a video where I go over all the books that I feel like have changed my life, changed the way I think. I'll link the video of that video in the description so you can take a look for yourself. These are basically books that help me with anxiety, that help me with my depression, and just overall improving myself every day. Okay, my 8th non-negotiable. This is more content related, more of my business, but I want to run a experiment for social media by posting twice every day, or maybe not every day, probably 5 times a week. I found that my engagement, my reach was the absolute lowest during summer, and I'm gonna assume that just when everybody's busy, people are on vacation, people are doing activities with their families, but I feel like during winter is when things kind of like chill out for a bit, and I would like to assume more people are on their phones, which I know is a bad thing. I'm not trying to encourage that, but it's just an experiment that I want to see for myself. So the next 3 months, I'm gonna try and make it a goal to post twice a week for 5 days in a row. And I want to see how much I can grow my social media account, how much I can expand in my business. While we're on the topic of my business, I plan on running one of the biggest sales that I've ever done in my coaching. So if you want full access to the dates of the sales, if you want first dibs of what is to come, I highly recommend you opt in the VIP form, because by doing that, you'll be able to unlock the sales dates right away and you can get first dibs on everything that's to come. So I'll also leave that link in the description. My last non-negotiable for this winter art, it's alongside with content, and I've honestly already been doing it since July, but I want to keep this momentum going. But I want to post at least once a week here on YouTube. The reason I even started a YouTube account is because, well, if I'm already making content on all these other platforms, what's one more? And everybody who has made it far in YouTube, their best advice was to post at least once a week for a year and then decide if it's something that, you know, if it's something I want to do. YouTube is also out of my comfort zone. All I've ever really known is short form content. When it comes to these longer videos, it's a lot harder for me to brainstorm like topics to talk about. I'm also able to share more of my life, which is also something that I struggle with because I'm not exactly open, but it's something that I am working towards doing. But I also know that the more you practice something that gives you fear, the more you get comfortable with it and the better that you become with in time. So those are all my non-negotiables for this winter art. Hopefully it gives you some realistic ideas to do. I would love to know what your non-negotiables are or what your list is for this winter art. You can leave that in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe if you already haven't, and I will see you next time.